You know, it could happen to you, but I don't want it to happen to you. Before we get into that, stick around and learn what it is that's on my mind that I've seen in my past life that could happen to me. And it could happen to you as well. But again, I think both of us have the opportunity to make sure that doesn't happen. So welcome to Hanging Out with Popsy Guy. I've missed you guys. I haven't seen you in over a week. The video I posted on Monday, I actually recorded Friday of last week. So it's been a whole week since we got together. Before I get into what it is that could happen to you, and I don't want it to happen to you, let me give you a quick Social Security update. There's been a lot of talk about Social Security in the news lately, and what our friend Elon has been doing, and Doge. And there's a lot of fear-mongering going on out there with some pretty prominent YouTubers saying that Social Security is in danger, you're not going to get your check, and yada, yada, yada. Hey, second Wednesday of the month, I got my check. How about you? So I'm sharing with you something I've said in the past, which is if you're already receiving Social Security benefits, don't be worried. Don't listen to the fear that's out there right now that your check is going to be delayed, it's going to be cut, you're going to have to eat cat food for the rest of your life because Elon Musk is after your money. Don't buy it, it ain't true. But there are two updates to Social Security that I want you to know about that aren't getting a lot of ink. First one is, as of March 25th, which is just a couple of weeks from now, 10 days or so, 11 days, you can no longer call the Social Security Administration to make an update to your banking information. So if you're not already, and I've done this, please sign up with ssa.gov. Get yourself an online secure account where you can access all your own information for Social Security. And the reason this is happening is because of telephone scams. And there's no doubt, if you're anything like me, your phone rings half a dozen times a day, somebody trying to get your information. Matter of fact, my wife her identity was just stolen not recently. So, number one, get yourself on ssa.gov so that if you need to make banking changes, in other words, where your direct deposit goes, you can do it online securely. You've always been able to do it online securely, but make sure that you've got yourself an online account because you're not going to be able to call the office and have it done anymore as of March 25th. The second change, going downhill at the beach, is that the projected cost of living adjustment for 2025 is going to be just about 2.2%. What's the good news? The good news is that there is a cost of living adjustment. What's the bad news? That's not a lot of money. That's usually somewhere late fall, October, when the number is actually confirmed. So most of us will say, well, that's not enough for us to keep pace with the cost of living, and that's true. But it's also the reality. The reality is that the cost of living is going up, and Social Security is not meant to outpace that. It's meant to try to match it. And we can argue all day long whether or not it's actually matching it, but get ready for a lower increase in 2026 than you got in 2025. All right, just want to make sure you got the updates. So this is what could happen to you if you're in your 60s and you've been married for some time. And actually, it doesn't matter if you're in your 60s. If you've been married for some time, there's a good chance that one of you is really good at record keeping, and the other one doesn't really pay that much attention. The reason I want this to be front of mind is that in my years as a financial advisor, I would sit with typically widows. Now again, talking about an older generation than you and I, they did things different, but I've seen all too often things haven't changed all that much. This is what would happen if one spouse passes away, and that spouse is the record keeper. The other spouse probably didn't have a lot of interest in all the things that spouse was doing. Paying bills, tracking investments, paying taxes, writing checks, or paying bills online with passwords and usernames. There's always one spouse that says, well, that person, he, I'm going to use he in this example, he's responsible for all that. I take care of the house, I do the grocery shopping, I remember the kids' birthdays and the grandkids' birthdays, I do all the really hard work. He just does that stuff. Well, the day he dies is the day you're going to want to know what he was doing. I'll give you an example. Years and years ago, I had a client in the town that I was working in who was very well known. Her husband was very well known in town. It was a small town. And, you know, it was rumored that this person, my client, had a lot of money because everybody knew her last name. Turns out she hired me to be her financial advisor, and she really had no idea what they had. And it was kind of sad and shocking because I was responsible for helping her unwind, oh gosh, 30, 40 years of paperwork that was all wrapped up in a rubber band for different stock purchases, different bills that were paid. It was a mess because it was all neatly piled up in the cellar with the understanding that one day he'd get a chance to clean it all up, show her what's going on, and she'd understand. Well, he didn't live long enough to get that done. And so it was up to her to figure it out. And it was heartbreaking because she thought she had more money than she did. So I tell you that because there's been many situations that I've run into personally as an advisor where it is heartbreaking because the surviving spouse was always left feeling like there's plenty. Don't have to worry about it. Again, he's got it all figured out. And if there's any problems, he'll let me know. And then he dies. And she doesn't know. Don't let that happen to you. Please don't let that happen to you. Now, if you're the type of person that is not interested in all the detail, you don't really care about finances, you're not really into investing, two ways to handle that. One is get an adult child that you trust and have that person come in and help both of you while the spouse that handles all that is still alive, and then figure it all out. Somebody's going to have to figure it out, and you'd much rather have that figured out on your own terms. Second way to handle that is find either an attorney, a certified financial planner, a life planner, somebody that you know and trust and you can research their background to come in and have a consultation with you and your spouse just to make a checklist of all the things that are important to you. Passwords is, I think, the biggest one. I don't know if it's the same in your house, but in my house, it's, hey, honey, what's the password to XYZ? What's the password to the internet? And one of us has it and the other one doesn't. So here's a little bit of free advice as well. Share passwords while you can. If you're a wired, technologically savvy family, then send each other a copy and a note, if you're using an iPhone, so that the other spouse will have it on their phone backed up. Another tip you may want to consider if you haven't already done this is use a backup service to a backup service. What do I mean by that? Well, I have OneDrive through Microsoft, and I also have another backup service. So I have two services that are backing up essentially the same data. Now, is that redundancy? Yeah. Don't forget, I'm a government employee. I work for the Department of the Redundancy Department. But in all seriousness, you should make sure that that information is accessible on more than one platform, just in case. You don't know. You don't know what platform is going to change hands, which one is going to be corrupted. You just don't want to mess around with that information and have it fall either into the wrong hands or into the abyss, and you have no idea where it is. So don't let that happen to you. That's what I wanted to chat with you today. I was excited to come out. You can see the water here. The sun is starting to break out a little bit. We're expecting a doozy of a weather system to clip the Gulf of America here in Pensacola. But you can see the water is pretty churned up right now. So I was excited to come out here before. I don't know what's going to happen. And that's exactly the point. You and I don't know what's going to happen. So be prepared. Be prepared. My friend Ryan Hall, y'all, he's a meteorologist who, if you haven't checked him out, it's literally Ryan Hall, y'all. He'll be live streaming this coming storm. He'll be on the air for like 24, 36 hours. But anyway, he says, don't be scared, be prepared. So not only for the weather, but also for your own personal financial situation. You're in control of it now while you're alive and while your spouse is alive. Don't assume that you've got time to take care of these things, because you don't. Only God knows how much time you have left. You don't. So be prepared, don't be scared. Anyway, thank you for hanging out with Popsy Guy today. Please drop me a comment, like the video if it's of some value to you. I'd like to do some of these Social Security updates every once in a while. Not really talking about the sensationalism that a lot of YouTube channels are focusing on. Give you the straight facts. You know, the facts are less exciting than the rumors. But it's like my friend Columbo used to say, just the facts, just the facts. All right, y'all have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.